Hare Krishna. Just give me 1 minute. Where did I stop? Chapter 3, Chapter 2, stanza 15. Chapter 6. Resume. Śrī This is an excerpt from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi, 7.131. Vede Ramayana Chaiva, Purane Bharate Tatha, Adav Ante Chamadhya Adi Sarvatri. In the Vedic literature, including the Ramayana, Puranas, and Mahabharata, from the very beginning, Adav, to the end, Ante Cha, as well as within the middle, Madhya Cha, only Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is explained. There should be a full stop here at the end. Stanza 16. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.11. Etan nirvidyamananam ikshatam apto bhayam yoginam nipanirritam Hari-nāmānu kirtanam. O King, let me see if I have. Okay, it is a decided truth that chanting the holy name of the Lord Sri Krishna after the authorities and always is the way to become free from all doubts and fear for those who are completely free from all material desires, for those who are desirous of all sorts of material enjoyment, and for all who are self-satisfied. So those who desire bhakti, those who desire mukti, and those who desire bhakti, all of them are included here. O King, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of the great authorities is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from all material desires, those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, and also those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge. Prabhupada's purport. In the previous verse, the great necessity for attaining attachment to Mukunda has been accredited. There are different types of persons who desire to attain success in different varieties of pursuits. Generally, the persons are materialists who desire to enjoy the fullest extent of material gratification. Next to them are the transcendentalists who have attained perfect knowledge about the nature of material enjoyment and thus are aloof from such an illusory way of life. More or less, they are satisfied in themselves by self-realization. Above them are the devotees of the Lord, who neither aspire to enjoy the material world nor desire to get out of it. Thereafter, the satisfaction of the Lord Sri Krishna. In other words, the devotees of the Lord do not want anything on their personal account. If the Lord desires, the devotees can accept all sorts of material facilities. And if the Lord does not desire this, the devotees can leave aside all sorts of facilities, even up to the limit of salvation. Nor are they self-satisfied, because they want the satisfaction of the Lord only. In this verse, Śrī Shukadeva Goswami recommends the transcendental chanting of the holy name of the Lord. By offenseless chanting and hearing of the holy name of the Lord, one becomes acquainted with the transcendental form of the Lord, and then with the attributes of the Lord, and then with the transcendental nature of his pastimes, etc. So when we chant Krishna's names offenselessly, first of all, the spiritual holy name manifests itself, and then Krishna's spiritual form is revealed, and then the different features of the Lord are revealed, and then his pastimes are revealed. One will find more details in Madhurya Kadambini. Here it is mentioned that one should constantly chant the holy name of the Lord after hearing it from authorities. This means that hearing from the authorities is the first essential. Hearing of the holy name gradually promotes one to the stage of hearing about his form, about his attributes, his pastimes, and so on. And thus the necessity of the chanting of his glories develops successively. This process is recommended not only for the successful execution of devotional service, but also even for those who are materially attached. According to Śrī Shukadeva Goswami, this way of attaining success is an established fact, concluded not only by him, but also by all other previous acharyas. Therefore, there is no need of further evidence. The process is recommended not only for the progressive students in different departments of ideological success, but also for those who are already successful in their achievement as fruity workers, as philosophers, or as devotees of the Lord. Jiva Goswami instructs that chanting of the holy name of the Lord should be loudly done, and it should be performed offenselessly as well, as recommended in the Padma Purana. One can deliver himself from the effects of all sins by surrendering himself unto the Lord. One can deliver himself from all offenses at the feet of the Lord by taking shelter of his holy name. But one cannot protect himself if one commits an offense at the feet of the holy name of the Lord. Such offenses are mentioned in the Padma Purana as being 10 in number. The first offense is to vilify the great devotees who have preached about the glories of the Lord. The second offense is to see the holy names of the Lord in terms of worldly distinction. The Lord is the proprietor of all the universes, and therefore he may be known in different places by different names. But that does not in any way qualify the fullness of the Lord. In other words, that does not exhaust a description of his transcendental qualities. Any nomenclature which is meant for the Supreme Lord is as holy as the others, because they're all meant for the Lord. Such holy names are as powerful as the Lord. There is no bar for anyone in any part of the creation to chant and glorify the Lord by the particular name of the Lord as it is locally understood. They are all auspicious, and one should not distinguish such names of the Lord as material commodities. The third offense is to neglect the orders of the authorized acharyas or spiritual masters. The fourth offense is to vilify scriptures or Vedic knowledge. The fifth offense is to define the holy name of the Lord in terms of one's mundane calculation. The holy name of the Lord is identical with the Lord himself, and one should understand the holy name of the Lord to be non-different from him. The sixth offense is to interpret the holy name. The Lord is not imaginary, nor is his holy name. There are persons with a poor fund of knowledge who think the Lord to be an imagination of the worshipper, and therefore think his holy name to be imaginary. They think that Krishna is a useful imagination. The Mayavadis typically give this example. Suppose you are in a dream, and inside the dream, you are in a forest. You are walking in the forest. And suddenly you come across a tiger. The tiger starts chasing you, chases you. It is about to pounce on you. Suddenly the dream breaks. You come out of it. You're sweating, shivering in fear, and you realize there is no forest, there is no tiger, nothing. Now, the tiger inside the dream, was it useful to help you get out of the dream? Yes. So like that, they think Śrī-Hari-nāma, devotion service to the Supreme Lord, is like that. The Lord himself is like the tiger in the dream, in Mayavada philosophy. He can help you get out of the dream. And with that in mind, they recommend that you chant Hare Krishna and all these things. But that is a misconception. The holy name is not like a tiger in the dream. Prabhupada gives another example to counter this misconception. You're sleeping. You're inside a dream. Okay, there's a tiger in the forest. Okay, the tiger is chasing you. Then suddenly you hear a loud sound, like the sound of an alarm clock. It jolts you out of the dream. You wake up. You go and turn off your alarm. Now, what was the cause of your getting out of the dream? It was actually the sound of an alarm. That alarm and the alarm clock, they are not part of the dream. They're outside the dream. Nevertheless, they have the power to wake you up from the dream. So Krishna's name, form, qualities, pastimes, entourage, abode, all of these are like the alarm clock. The alarm clock outside the dream. So in that way, they're fully spiritual. They are not an imagination. They're not even useful imaginations. They're not useful material commodities that help you become liberated from your material experience. They're entirely spiritual. So it is an offense to consider that the Lord or his holy name to be imaginary. Such a chanter of the holy name of the Lord cannot achieve the desired success in the matter of chanting the holy name. The seventh offense is to commit sins intentionally on the strength of the holy name. In the scriptures, it is said that one can be liberated from the effects of all sinful actions simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord. One who takes advantage of this transcendental method and continues to commit sins on the expectation of neutralizing the effects of sins by chanting the holy name of the Lord is the greatest offender at the feet of the holy name. Such an offender cannot purify himself by any recommended method of purification. In other words, one may be a sinful man before chanting the holy name of the Lord, but after taking shelter in the holy name of the Lord and becoming immune, one should strictly restrain oneself from committing sinful acts with the hope that his method of chanting the holy name will give him protection. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this also includes intentionally or knowingly committing seva parad. There are several offenses to be taken into consideration while we are engaged in deity worship. So if we intentionally engage in seva parads with the idea that we can neutralize the reactions from the seva parad by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, that is also an offense. That also is included in this seventh offense. The eighth offense is to consider the holy name of the Lord and his chanting method to be equal to some material auspicious activity. There are various kinds of good works for material benefits, but the holy name and his chanting are not mere auspicious holy services. Undoubtedly, the holy name is holy service, meaning chanting the holy name is holy service. But it should never be utilized for such purposes. Since the holy name and the Lord are of one and the same identity, one should not try to bring the holy name into the service of mankind. The idea is that the Supreme Lord is the supreme enjoyer. He is no one's servant or order supplier. Similarly, since the holy name of the Lord is identical with the Lord, one should not try to utilize the holy name for one's personal service. Dr. Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has pointed out that therefore we should never equate the chanting of Krishna's names with auspicious material pious activities like feeding the poor, relieving the hungry, flood relief, and similar such material pious activities. The ninth offense is to instruct those who are not interested in chanting the holy name of the Lord about the transcendental nature of the holy name. If such instruction is imparted to an unwilling audience, the act is considered to be an offense at the feet of the holy name. The 10th offense is to become uninterested in the holy name of the Lord, even after hearing of the transcendental nature of the holy name. The effect of chanting the holy name of the Lord is perceived by the chanter as liberation from the conception of false egoism. False egoism is exhibited by thinking oneself to be the enjoyer of the world and thinking everything in the world to be meant for the enjoyment of oneself only. The whole materialistic world is moving under such false egoism of I and mine. But the factual effect of chanting the holy name is to become free from such misconceptions. So in other words, if I refuse to make spiritual progress, that is another problem. Stanza 23. Chaitanya Charitamrita 17.31. Trinadapi Sunijena, Tarorapi Saishnama, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahari. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita. Antya, no. Adi, 17.31. Being lower than downtrodden grass, with more tolerance than a tree, without being puffed up by false pride, giving respect to all, the holy name of the Lord is to be chanted always. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, yet is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. The grass is specifically mentioned in this verse because everyone tramples upon it, yet the grass never protests. This example indicates that a spiritual master or leader should not be proud of his position, being always humbler than an ordinary common man. He should go on preaching the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Chapter 3. Srila Sanatana Goswami's Brihad Bhagavatamrita 2.2.205 on the role of karma and jnana vis-a-vis bhakti. On the role of karma and jnana in relationship to bhakti. The Sanskrit text and commentary of Srila Sanatana Goswami Prabhupada are followed by Sri Gopi Purandana Prabhu's English paraphrase. The topic is related to stanza 7 of Śrī Hari-nāma. Text. Karma vikshepakam tasya vairagyam rasashoshakam jnanam hanikaram tat shodhitam tvanayatitam. Ritual duties distract one from devotion service. Here, ritual duties refers to karma. Renunciation dries up one's transcendental taste for her. Here, renunciation is vairagya. And knowledge, jnana, can do her harm. But these three, when purified, faithfully serve her. So here we come across an indication that there is bhakti anukula karma, which distracts one from devotional service. There's bhakti pratikula karma, which distracts one from devotional service. Bhakti pratikula vairagya, that dries up one's transcendental taste for devotional service. And bhakti pratikula jnana, that can harm devotional service. Then there are purified versions of these. Bhakti anukula karma, bhakti anukula vairagya, bhakti anukula jnana. अतएव भक्ति विरुद्धम कर्मादिकम सर्वम भक्ति परैहि त्याज्यमे वेत्याशयेन आहु कर्मेति तस्या भक्तेर विक्षेपकम नाना व्यापार शतेन चालकम वैराग्यम च सर्वनिरपेक्षकम तस्या रसस्य तद्विषयक रागस्य शोषकम भगवत सेवायामपि निर्विण्णता दोष प्रसक्ते सा च अयुक्ता एव. Serious Vaishnavas should give up whatever does not serve the purpose of your devotional service. The karma-kanda injunctions of the Vedas obscure the path of devotion with hundreds of obligatory rituals, and practicing detachment from all worldly things dries up the attractive taste of devotional practice. Bhakti pareshanabhu viraktaram yattav chaisha ityadav bhagavad bhakter anyatraiva virakter uttatvat ज्ञानम तो तस्या हानिकरम क्षीणतापादकम आत्मतत्वादि बोधेन निस्तीर्णम मन्यतापत्या भक्त्या प्रवृत्ते. The indifference recommended in devotion service is distinct, however, from the renunciation undertaken by impossibilists, because devotional renunciation selectively turns away only those things that cannot be used in the Lord's service. This is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment from other things. These three occur simultaneously for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of God. The pursuit of knowledge weakens bhakti, because realizing such truths as the divine nature of the self gives one a feeling of self-satisfaction that quells, that nullifies the strong urge needed to enter the Supreme Lord's service. Ateva Shri Bhagavatoktam Ekadasha Skandhe Tasman Mad Bhakti Yuktasya Yogino Vai Madatmanam Na Jnanam Na Vairagyam Praya Shreyo Bhavedya Yat Karma Bhairya Tapasa Jnana Vairagya Tasyayam Yogena Dana Dharmena Shreyo Bhairtarairapi Sarvam Mad Bhakti Yogena Mad Bhakto Labhatenjasa Swarga Pavarga Madhama Kathanchid Yadi Vanchati Iti. Thus the Transcendental Lord has said in Srimad Bhagavatam. And so, for a devotee engaged in my loving service, with mind fixed on me, the cultivation of knowledge and renunciation is generally not the means of achieving the highest perfection within this world. Whatever can be achieved by fruitive activities, or penance, or knowledge, or detachment, mystic yoga, charity, religious duties, or other means of perfecting life, all this my devotee easily achieves through loving service unto me. If somehow my devotee desires promotion to heaven, or liberation, or residence in my abode, he easily achieves such things. Praya ityanena kadachit kinchit vairagyam jnanam karma cha shreya sadhanam bhavet iti Shri Bhagavata yat suchitam taddeva darshayantaha karmadinamapi bhakti paratvena sarthakam ahuhu tattaditi karma vairagyam jnanam cha shoditam tantan malahinatam nitam sat tam bhaktim anuyati anuvartate bhakte prathama sadhana gatam bhajati ityartha. In the first of these verses from the 11th canto, the word praya for the most part indicates that duties, knowledge and detachment may sometimes help to some extent. Here the Bhakti Shastras, thus the Bhakti Shastras here state that karma, jnana and vairagya may be useful if subordinate to the purpose of bhakti. Purified of their faults, they can serve devotional service, especially as initial aids to devotional practice. So, when material dharma or varnashrama dharma. Varna dharma for men, ashrama dharma for men, Śrī dharma for women, followed by vairagya, detachment from renunciation, and jnana, theoretical and realized knowledge. When they are subordinated to devotion service, that means you follow them in such a manner that you will be able to enhance your practice of bhakti. Then they are no longer considered to be faulty. And in fact, they become preliminaries to the attainment of devotion service and pure devotion service and perfect pure devotion service. Taduktam yoga vasishthe dharmantra satsreshu tapodana samadhibhihi naranam kshina papana krishne bhakti prajayate. As stated in the Yoga Vasishtha Ramayana, devotion to Krishna arises in persons whose sinful reactions have been diminished by austerities, charity, and meditation performed in thousands of consecutive births. So, in other words, devotion to Krishna doesn't quickly come. Tatra evam vivechaniyam karmanas tattat kama phalan nirvasanena kevalam bhagavad pritaye tadarpanena shodhana vairagyasya cha mokshepi vaitrishnena bhagavad sevadi raganavartanena jnanasya cha advaita tattva bodhadi tyagena kevalam bhagavadiyatvenaiva atmam mananena Śrī Bhagavad Bhakti Mahima Nirtharana Adina Ititi. When karma, vairagya, and jnana are suitably purified, they can each assist in preparing the spiritual aspirant for the practice of bhakti. Thus, karma purified of desire for fruits of endeavor becomes work done only for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Vairagya, developed at the stage of indifference to liberation, becomes a stimulant for the eagerness to serve the Lord. And jnana, freed from the conception of total oneness, becomes transformed into contemplation of oneself as belonging to the Lord and into meditation on the glories of devotion service. So, one get some idea about what is the practical distinction between Bhakti Anukul and Bhakti Pratikul, Karma, Vairagya, and Jnana in relation to the practice of bhakti. Okay, chapter 4, 3 levels of bhakti. This is related to stanza 8 of Śrī Hari-nāma. First, a quote from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sadhan bhakti hoite hoy rati rudoy, rati gad hoile tar prem naam koy. So here we find 3 levels of bhakti. From the process of regularly rendering devotional service, there is the awakening of attachment. When such attachment becomes thick, its name is said to be love of Godhead. By regularly rendering devotional service, one gradually becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When that attachment is intensified, it becomes love of Godhead. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu gives the following information about sadhana bhakti. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhyabhava sadha sa sadhana vita. Nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatyam kriti sadhyata. The process of devotion service, beginning with chanting and hearing, is called sadhana bhakti. This includes the regulative principles that are intended to awaken one to devotion service. Devotion service is always dormant in everyone's heart. And by the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, one's original dormant Krishna consciousness is awakened. This awakening to Krishna consciousness is the beginning of sadhana bhakti. This can be divided into many parts, including faith, shraddha, association with devotee sadhu sangha, initiation by the spiritual master, bhajana kriya, engagement in devotional service under the instructions of a spiritual master. That's also bhajana kriya. Or it will lead to anartha nivritti, steadiness in devotional service, nishtha, and the awakening of a taste for devotional service, ruchi. In this way, one can become attached to Krishna, asakti, and his service. And his service. This must be bhava-bhakti. And when this attachment is intensified, it results in ecstatic love for Krishna. Prema. The word rati is explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows. Yaktam manus masnrid masranate vantar lakshate rati lakshanam mukshu prabhatinam chet bhave desha ratir nahi. When a tenderness of the heart is manifested, there is rati or attachment. But those who are interested in becoming liberated from material bondage will not manifest this tenderness. This attachment is not like material attachment. One is free of material contamination. Attachment for Krishna's service awakens and is called rati. In the material world, there is attachment for material enjoyments. But this is not rati. Transcendental rati can be awakened only on the spiritual platform. Ecstatic love for Krishna Prema is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows. It's actually 1.4. Samyang masrid mitaswanto mamabhati shayankitaha bhavaseva sandratma udai prema nigadyate. When the heart is completely softened and devoid of all material desires, and when one's emotional feelings become very strong, one becomes very much attached to Krishna. Such purified emotion is known as pure love. As it has been discussed by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhakti Thakur. See, the expressions like tenderness of the heart and so on, these refer to the spiritual heart. It doesn't refer to the material mind. In the material world, it is the heart that is known as the mind. Anner Hridayamon, more Vrindavan. This is Lord Chaitanya's own statement. So, when you come across descriptions of tenderness of the heart and so on, soft heart and so on, these actually refer to the heart of the soul. It's not referred to actually the material heart. Chapter 5. Śrī Jiva Goswami's Bhakti Sandarbha on the factual and timeless potency of Lord Vidvan. With an English translation based on Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Bengali translation. This is related to stanza 8 of Śrī Hari-nāma. This text is part of Anucheda 273 of Bhakti Sandarbha. What Śrīla Jiva Goswami will do is, he will tackle the argument that the Hare Krishna mantra or the holy names of Lord Krishna have been promoted in Kali Yuga because there is some relationship between the people of Kali Yuga and the need to give them a process which they can relate to. And therefore, on that basis, they come up with this view that this is going to actually give us an inferior goal. Tatah Kaliprajana Parama Bhagavan Nishthatam Shutva Tadartham Kalaveva Kevalam Nijisanma Prathayante Tyaha Katadishu Prajarajan Kalavikshanti Sambhavam Kalau Kali Bhavishyanti Narayana Parayana. Then upon hearing that those born in Kali Yuga will be supremely fixed on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, these residents of the other yugas pray that they take birth exclusively in Kali Yuga. O King, the residents of Satya and other yugas decide to take birth in Kali Yuga because in Kali Yuga, men will be firmly absorbed in Lord Narayana. Tat Parayanatvam Tadiya Premadishaya Vatvam Etadeva Param Shantim Ityanena Karyadvara Vyanjati Muktanam Visiddhanam Narayana Parayana Sturlava Prashantatma Ityatrayatvam Kotishwapi Mahamane. In this context, firmly absorbed in Lord Narayana means possessing excessive love for Lord Narayana. Like the statement, even among liberated and spiritually perfected persons, a person firmly absorbed in Lord Narayana with a peaceful mind is extremely rare. The supreme peace spoken of in Bhagavatam 11.537 is explicated through its effect in this verse under discussion. Bhagavatam 11.5.38. Then, Atra Kalisangena Kirtana Sigunotvarshaiti Navaktavyam Bhakti Matre Kala Desha Niyamasya Nishiddhatva Visheshato Namapalakshicha Dharma Vishnu Dharme Shatra Bandhu Vakhyane Na Desha Niyamas Tatra Na Kala Niyamatha No Chishtado Nishedascha Hari-nāma Niluddhata. In this context, one should not state that Kirtan has been exalted through exaggeration with reference to Kali Yuga. For regulations regarding time and place have been forbidden for all sorts of bhakti. Okay, here is some remarks from my end. Śrīla Jiva Goswami Prabhu's point is as follows. 11.537 states, indeed, there is no higher possible gain for embodied souls forced to wander throughout the material world than the Supreme Lord Sankirtan movement, by which one can attain the supreme peace and free oneself from the cycle of repeated birth and death. Who possesses the supreme peace? That is clear from Bhagavatam 6.14.5, which states, even among liberated and spiritually perfected persons, a person firmly absorbed in Lord Narayana with a peaceful mind is extremely rare. In other words, those who are supremely peaceful are those firmly absorbed in Lord Narayana. The exact Sanskrit word denoting such a person is Narayana Parayana. The same word appears in 11.538, which states, O King, the residents of Satya and other yugas decide to take birth in Kali Yuga, because in Kali Yuga, men will be firmly absorbed in illusion. The expression firmly absorbed in Lord Narayana means possessing exclusive love for Narayana. Specifically, while referring to the holy name that's being stated in the history of the Kshatrabandhu in the Vishnu Dharma, O hunter, there is no restriction of place or time with regards to the holy name of Lord Hari or about partaking in his remnants and so on. text, Skande, Padma Vaishakha Mahatmya, Vishnu Dharma cha, Vishnu Dharma is same as Vishnu Dharma. Chakra Yuthasya Namani, Sada Sarvatra Kirtayet. It has been stated in the Skanda Purana, the Vaishakha Mahatmya section of Padma Purana and Vishnu Purana. Chant the holy names of the Supreme Personality of God who holds a discus in his hand, always and everywhere. Skandeva na deshakala vasthana shuddhyarikam apekshate kintu swatantrameva itam nama kamita kamadam. And it has been stated in the Skanda Purana, the holy name of Lord Hari, not considering the place, time, status, purity of the body, and so on, independently fulfills the desires hankered for. Vishnu Dharmecha, Kalau Pratevam Tasya, Kalistasya Krite Yuge, Yasya Chetasya Govindo, Hridaye Yasya Nachutaha. This has been stated in Vishnu Dharma. Vishnu Dharma refers to Vishnu Dharmottara, one of the Upa Puranas. For he in whose heart Śrī Hari is manifest, Kali Yuga becomes Satya Yuga. And for he in whose heart Lord Śrī Hari is not manifest, Satya Yuga becomes Kali Yuga. So it is not that because of the age, mantra gets more power. It's not like that. Nacha kalau anya sadhana samarthatvat eva tena alpena api mahat phalam bhavati natu tasya kariyastveneti mantavyam yasmin nistamaterna yati narakam sargopi yak chintane vigno yatra Niveshitatma manasam brahmo pilo makaha muktim chetasi yastito maladhya pumsam tatyam vyaya kim chitram yaddaham prayati vilayam tatrachute kirtite iti samadhi paryantadapi smaranat kaimutyena kirtanasyaiva gariyaston Shri Vishnu Purane darshita. One should not consider as follows. Because in Kali Yuga, men are incapable of taking up such spiritual practices. Through this minor spiritual practice of Harinam Kirtan, great results are achieved. But that is not due to the intrinsic superiority of Harinam Kirtan over other spiritual practices. So this is an objection. For the Vishnu Purana says, what is the cause for astonishment in the fact that by engaging in Kirtan of Śrī Hari, all sinful reactions are destroyed. By fixing one's mind firmly in Him, a person does not go to hell at all. Even the happiness of Swarga is experienced in meditation upon Him as an obstacle. By fixing his self and mind upon Him, people are certain even Brahmaloka to be insignificant, and situating himself on the spotless hearts of his devotees, he awards liberation. In this statement, it is shown that Kirtana is a spiritual practice, all the more superior to your smarana in the stage of Samadhi. Therefore, that second canto verse, that has been made. Therefore, statements such as these have been made. O King, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of the devotional authorities is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from all material desires. Those who are desirous of all material enjoyment and also those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge. We saw this verse. Tathacha agachat smaranam Vishnu bhakvaya sena sadhyate oshtaspandana matrena kirtanam tato paramiti Vaishnava Chintamana. The Vaishnava Chintamani also states, Smarana of Lord Vishnu destroys all sinful reactions. It is accomplished through much endeavor. See, to remember on the Lord is not just a remember. It has the sense of focused, concentrated meditation on the Lord. That is what is meant by remembrance. Remembrance leads up to samadhi. Even then, this remark is given. But kirtan, which is accomplished merely through movement of the lips, is superior to smarana. Yena janma shatah purvam vasudeva samarchitaha. Tanmukhe harinamani sada tishtanti bharata ityanyatra. It is stated elsewhere, O scion of the Bharata dynasty, the holy names of Lord Hari manifest only in the mouth of that person by whom Vasudeva has been offenselessly worshipped in his 100 previous lifetimes. Vasudeva samarchitaha. Vasudeva is completely worshipped, offenselessly worshipped. Sarva aparadha krit api ityadi Nāmāśraya-bhakti bhanjana stotra. And in the stotra from the Padma Purana that deals with the destruction of Nāmāśraya-bhakti, it is stated, despite committing all kinds of offenses, by taking shelter of Śrī Hari through Nam Kirtan, a man becomes liberated. Tasmat sarvatraiva yuge Śrīmad Kirtanasya samanameva samarthyam kalaucha Śrī Bhagavata kripaya tat grahyata iti apekshayaiva tatra tat prashamseti sthitam. Therefore, it should be understood that Kirtan of Śrī Hari has the same potency in all yugas. And one should conclusively understand that the glorification of such Kirtan in Kali Yuga is because in Kali Yuga, the Supreme Personality of Godhead mercifully causes the living entities to engage in that Kirtana. Ateva yad anyapi bhakta khalau kartavya tada tat samyoge naivetyu tam yajna sankirtanam prayar yajantihi sumetha saha iti. This specific sentence. This was often referred to by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. Therefore, though other forms of bhakti also have to be executed in Kali Yuga, they have to be executed in conjunction with that form of bhakti known as Kirtana. This is stated in the 11th canto. Intelligent persons worship him through sacrifices abundantly filled with some Kirtana. Atracha swatantrameva nama Kirtanam atyanta prashastam. Hare Nāma iva kevalam kalau nasteva gatiram natha ityada. In this Kali Yuga, independent execution of Nama Kirtana is most highly praised in texts such as, in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy names. There is no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. Ranarati Purana. Independent execution of Nama Kirtana. Refers to engagement in Nama Kirtana without engaging in other aspects of Bhajana Kriya. Of course, in the list of 64 items of sadhana bhakti provided by Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the first 20 items of sadhana bhakti are prerequisites, gateways to Bhajana Kriya. Asyastatra praveshaya dvaratve pyanga vimshate trayam pradhanam evoktam Gurupadashrayadikam. Srila Prabhupada's paraphrase of this text runs as follows. Altogether, Srila Rupa Goswami mentions 20 items and all of them are very important. Out of the 20, the first 3, namely accepting the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, taking initiation from him, and serving him with respect and reverence, are the most important. The rest of the 44 items are Bhajana Kriya. Within these items, one may exclusively engage in Nama Kirtana, and that is highly praised in the Purana. This is Srila Jiva Goswami's point. तस्मात् साधुत्वं कलिं सभाजयन्त्यार्या गुणज्ञा इत्यादि त्रयम् शिखरभाजनोन्निमिम्. Therefore, these three statements are appropriate. Those who are actually advanced in knowledge are able to appreciate the essential value of this age of Kali. Such enlightened persons worship Kali Yuga because in this fallen age, all perfection of life can easily be achieved by the performance of Sankirtan. Indeed, there is no higher possible gain for embodied souls forced to wander throughout the material world than the Supreme Lord Sankirtan movement, by which one can attain the supreme peace and free oneself from the cycle of repeated birth and death. My dear king, the inhabitants of Satya Yuga and other ages eagerly desire to take birth in this age of Kali, since in this age there will be many devotees of the Supreme Lord Narayana. These devotees will appear in various places, but will be especially numerous in South India. These statements are spoken by Karabhajana Rishi to King Nimi. Okay, this is a long section. Let me note this down. We'll resume this next week. Okay, any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, ma'am.
Prabhu, you were just reading now saying that the people in Satya Yuga and Dwapara Yuga, they want to come to Kali Yuga because people in Kali Yuga are very devoted to the Lord. But that sounds a little...
No, it's not like that. That is not what is said. Yoga Goswami points out that in Kali Yuga, the Supreme Lord very mercifully engages everyone in the chanting. The process of chanting has the same effect. It's not that chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is more powerful in Kali Yuga.
Right.
It has the same power in all the yugas. But people in other yugas, they are more sophisticated because of the superior infrastructure, environment, their own mental capabilities, because more advanced souls are given human bodies in previous yugas. So therefore, they are not able to have that much faith that you can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead just by uttering his names. But that degree of faith that is possible in Kali Yuga. It is possible, obviously, in previous yugas also, but they were more attracted to sophisticated performances. Therefore, there was, for instance, Archana. Or in Satya Yuga, you have Dhyana, which is which is almost it's a very rare species, even amongst our own devotees. If you come across somebody who can sit every day, chant 6 rounds, one place, just by looking at the deities, we consider that person to be a very great soul. It's a rare thing. But in Satya Yuga, that was normal. So, like that, it is based on that impression is there, that the process seems so easy. It's just like the heavenly planets also. The devas want to come to earth. Not all devas, only those who are exceptionally serious. They want to come to earth. that is because there is a sufficient combination of pluses and minuses. In the lower planetary systems, things are too miserable. The upper planetary systems too happy. Just in between. So they are looking at that particular external bhakti anukulya. How favorable is it for engaging in devotional service? Just like many times our householders, they think, oh, just see how fortunate these brahmacharis are. They're living in the temple. They're living in a place like Mayapur. They often remark, oh, see, what is their life? They have basically they have no responsibility. They can engage in pure devotional service to Krishna whenever they want. So we tend to think that that is because we are only looking at what is favorable. From the perspective of what is favorable, what is more favorable, what is less favorable, it is definitely more favorable. But it is not, doesn't mean that necessarily a brahmachari with all those favorable elements, or necessarily it's not that he has to be more advanced. And he may not be. So we cannot say that human beings are necessarily more advanced in Krishna consciousness than demigods. There are many demigods who are far more advanced in Krishna consciousness than we can even imagine. So it is not that we are chanting Hare Krishna, we are necessarily more advanced than those practitioners of Hari Bhakti in previous yugas, necessarily. It just indicates that we should take advantage of such a favorable environment. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
Anything else? All right, so I'll stop with this.